Hey there, let's talk about reflexive pronouns. And just as a word of warning, this means I'm going to be talking about myself a lot. Now let's try to understand the basic definition of reflexive pronoun. Reflexive pronoun is used when the action done by the subject turns back or reflects on the subject. So, reflexive pronouns reflect back on the noun or pronoun, such as in the sentence, I baked the cake myself. Here, myself is reflexive pronoun. Now, we use reflexive pronouns when the subject and the object of a sentence are the same thing. Like in a sentence, Reena wrote this letter herself, or Aditya learned this art himself. Now here in these two sentences, Reena and herself are same, as in the second, Aditya and himself are same. Now let's talk how personal pronouns get converted to reflexive pronouns. Let's take the first one. The first person, we say the personal pronoun is me, and the reflexive pronoun of the same will be myself. First person plural personal pronoun is us, and the reflexive form of that is ourselves. Now in the second person, both singular and plural personal pronoun is you, and then in the reflexive it can be either yourself or yourselves, depending on whether we are talking about singular or plural entity. The singular third person pronouns are it, her, and him, and their reflexive versions are itself, herself, and himself. Finally, the third person personal pronoun, the plural one, is them, and it becomes the reflexive pronoun as themselves. There's yet another thing I want to share with you all. It's at times easy to get tripped up if there is a compound object in the sentence. Let's take an example. You can talk to Mishti or myself, or taking another sentence, you can talk to Mishti or me. Now it's easy to get confused because here you're talking about two people. So there's a little test that you can do, and I often share it with my students also. If you're unsure of whether or not it should be Mishti or myself or Mishti or me, then it's better to take out the other part of the object just for a little bit and pretend that that's not there. In this case, let's take Mishti out of the sentence. Now the new sentence will be, you can talk to myself or you can talk to me. And as we have already established in the definition that in reflexive pronoun, the subject and the object of the sentence are the same thing. So here, you is the subject. So, the reflexive pronoun has to be yourself and not myself. And it's not the case here in this example, the one that we are discussing. So, the correct sentence will be, you can talk to me, and adding back the other subject, the final sentence will be, you can talk to Mishti or me. Now just think about how the subject and the object connects. Perform this little check and you'll never go wrong. Pronouns. Now demonstrative pronouns, as the word itself says, words that are used to point out the object or objects near, in distance or time. We have the words this and these. This and these refer to nouns that are nearby, while that and those refer to nouns that are further away. Other than that, this and that refer to singular nouns, and these and those refer to plural nouns. Now I have yet another thing that I want to discuss with you, that there is a considerable difference between demonstrative pronoun and demonstrative adjective. The word this, that, these, those can be used both as demonstrative pronouns and demonstrative adjectives. For example, if I say, this is a beautiful picture, here, this stands for the noun picture. Therefore, it's a pronoun. This picture is beautiful. Here, this qualifies the noun picture and hence it's an adjective. It's very important to understand and to keep in mind that a pronoun is used in place of the noun, and an adjective is generally placed just before the noun it qualifies. I hope I made the entire thing clear to you all. So keep learning, keep revising, and keep listening. Bye-bye. Hey there. Today we are going to discuss about possessive pronouns. It's a pronoun that we use to show possession of something, which is just sort of a fancy way of saying you have it. So possession equals having stuff. Now we can divide possessive pronouns in half, because on the side of the divide we have a list of pronouns that behaves like adjective, and the other side we have a group of pronouns that behaves like nouns. I'll list them out for you and I'll give you some examples as well. Possessive pronouns that behaves like an adjective for me is my, and the possessive pronouns that behaves like a noun for me is mine. The same way, our behaves like an adjective and ours behave like a noun. Your behaves like an adjective and yours behave like a noun. His behaves like an adjective and his behaves like a noun. Their behaves like an adjective and theirs behave like a noun. Now here I must mention that nowhere in any of these sentences does there appear such a thing as an apostrophe. Like hers, like apostrophe s with that, their apostrophe s like theirs. No, we don't use it. Let's take some more examples. Let's say that there was a book that I owned. How would I talk about it? Well, I could do it in two different ways using these possessive pronouns. I could say that is my book, and here my is working as an adjective that modifies or describes a book, or I could say that book is mine. Here we are using mine as noun. Now, how do we know it's acting like a noun? Because we can use it independently of the word book. So, if someone says to me, "Where is your book?" I can say, "Mine is on the table." Nowhere in this sentence does the word book appear, but we can use mine independently because we have established in a previous sentence that the thing we are talking about is this book. So, we have two piles of possessive pronouns here, and one pile behaves like adjectives and other behaves like noun. And remember, none of them contains apostrophe. I hope I made it clear. Bye-bye. Interrogative pronoun is a pronoun which is used to make asking questions easy. There are just 5 interrogative pronouns. Each one is used to ask a very specific question or indirect question. The list of interrogative pronouns includes what, which, who, whom, and whose. Who and whom refer to people. What, which, and whose refer to objects or people. They are sometimes called WH words also because in English most of them start with WH. They may be used in both direct as well as indirect questions. For example, who won the toss? What's the time by your watch? Which of the chocolates did you like the most? Whom did you hand over the keys? Now in these sentences, we have used all the WH words like who, what, which, and whom. Now in the indirect questions like, do you know what this is? Or I want to know what this is. Now my question here is that why should we care about interrogative pronouns? Like mistakes involving interrogative pronouns are rare, but there are 2 good reasons to know about it. First, avoid errors with who and whom. Remember that you can only use who when it is the subject of a verb. This is a simpler idea than you might think. Like I, he, she, we, and they are just like who, because they are also used as the subject of a verb. They are also called subjective pronouns, while me, him, her, us, and them are just like whom, because they are not used as the subject of a verb, so they are called objective pronouns. Like in a sentence, who knows her, the subject of knows is who, which is correct. Compare this with he, she, and you will get your answer. Who do you know? The subject of know is you, not who. So it's wrong. Now, let's quickly review and revise the WH words, like where do we use and how do we use, with examples. Like in what is used to ask questions about people or object. For example, what's your friend's name, or what do you want for dinner? Which is used to ask questions about people or objects. Like in example, which color do you prefer, and which of these ladies is your mother? Who is used to ask questions about people, like who's that, or who's going to take out the trash? Whom is used rarely these days, but when it shows up, it's used to ask questions from people. For example, whom did you speak to? Whom do you like? Whose is used to ask questions about people or object, always related to possession, like in the sentence, whose sweater is this and whose phone is that? I hope I made myself clear about interrogative pronouns to you. So, revise, and yes, you can learn anything.